Hello again. Today we're going to look at Unit 2. I hope you have looked at the starter and thought about what you think. We'll discuss that more on our Skype lesson. I hope also that you looked at what was written about the two people. We'll look again at that now, and we're going to listen as well. Now we look at the pictures of Ruth and Fraser. What do you think is remarkable about them? That means unusual in a good way. We often look at pictures in newspapers or books to get an idea of what the writing is about. It helps us to understand the writing. So look at Ruth. You can see she is an older woman, but she's got all the equipment of a disc jockey. That's somebody who plays records in clubs, plays music in clubs. That's usually a young person's job. So that is remarkable about her. An older person who is a disc jockey. Fraser in the second picture, Fraser Doherty. He's a very young man. He's a man, but he has a company called Super Jam. He already makes lots of money from jam. An unusual job for a man. It asks, who likes going to a club or clubs? We know that that is Ruth. Who makes jam? We can see that that is Fraser. We're now going to listen to the recording, and I want you to read at the same time. So read and listen at the same time. We'll listen to Ruth first. You need to answer the questions that you'll see in 2 on the first page above her picture. How old is she? What does she look like? What does her family think of her? So listen carefully and follow the reading.
Unit 2, Tape Script 2.1. Mammy Rock, the Granny DJ.
Ruth Flowers is not an ordinary grandmother. She's in her 70s and has silver hair and bright red lipstick. She's a DJ and works in clubs in Europe and tours festivals. She lives alone in Bristol. She says,
I've got a son and a grandson. They think what I'm doing is very cool.
She likes rock bands, such as Queen and the Rolling Stones. but she also plays electro and dance music.
I love being with young people.
She says.
They've got so much energy and enthusiasm.
She's planning another European tour and is currently making a new single.
I'm having a lot of fun,
she says.
I don't want it to stop.
Could you follow that? Let's look at the answers then. How old is she? She's in her 70s. That means she's over 70 years old, between 70 and 80. She's even older than me. What does she look like? Did you write she has silver hair and bright red lipstick? What does her family think of her? They think she's cool. That's a modern word for fashionable or up to date. Now we'll listen to Fraser. So do the same thing, read and listen at the same time, and we need to answer the questions. What is his company? That means what is the name of his company? How old was he when he started it? And what does his charity do? A charity is an organisation that helps people or looks after something, and the people who work there do not get paid. They do it because they want to.
Tape script 2.2. The Super Jam Millionaire.
Fraser Doherty is an extraordinary young man. He has his own company, Super Jam, which he started when he was just 16.
I earn more money than my parents.
He says his company makes jam, 500,000 jars every year, using a secret recipe from his grandmother. All the major supermarkets sell his products. The business is growing fast. 4 flavours at the moment, but more on the way. And he has a charity that organises huge tea parties for old people, with live music and dancing.
At the moment I'm very busy. I'm writing a cookbook. I've got an idea for a TV programme, and we're trying to get into the American market.
So, could you follow that? What is Fraser Doherty's company called? His company is Super Jam. Super Jam. How old was he when he started it? He started it when he was 16. Only 16. What does his charity do? It organises tea parties for old people with live music and dancing. Live music is when you have the real people there. It's not on DVD or online. So now we're going to look at some more questions about Ruth and Fraser. I want you to look at exercise 4. They have given you what we call prompts. You have to make questions. Do you remember in Unit 1 we learnt about questions using the W words? What, where, how, why, and those sorts of words. So you are going to do that here. They have given you an example. What and do, you have to make a question like, what does Ruth do? And then you answer it. She's a DJ. You have a separate worksheet. Q means question. A, answer. So I'd like you to spend a few minutes writing your questions and answers, and then practice with a friend or a partner. Practice saying them. How did you get on? Did you remember your question forms from last time? Let's go through the answers together. We had, what does Ruth do? And the answer, she's a DJ. The next one was, where does she work? The answer, she works in clubs in Europe. How many children does she have? She has one son and she also has a grandson. What sort of music does she like? She likes Queen and the Rolling Stones, and she also likes electro and dance music. Why does she like young people? Because they're so energetic and enthusiastic. That means they don't get tired so easily and they love life. What's she doing at the moment? She's planning another European tour and she's making a new single. Now we'll look at Fraser's questions. What does Fraser do? Answer, he has his own company that makes jam. How much does he earn? He earns more than his parents. How many jars of jam does he make every year? He makes 500,000 jars a year. Whose recipe does he use? His grandmother's. It's a secret recipe. What's he writing? Answer, he's writing a cookbook. What's he trying to do? He's trying to get into the American market. That means he's trying to sell his jam to American people in America, in the United States. Now, we're going to listen to an interview first with Ruth, and then you have to fill in the gaps in the 4 sentences in exercise 5. You have to also think, does she like being famous? What do her friends think of her job? Listen to what Ruth says, answer those questions and fill in the gaps. You can read what she says at the same time. You will see on the picture of Ruth there is a little box marked T2.4. So you can read what is said at the same time.
Tape script 2.4. An interview with Ruth.
Do you like being famous?
Oh, don't be silly. I'm not really famous. I'm just an old lady who's having fun.
But it is unusual for someone your age, if you don't mind me saying, to be DJing in clubs for young people.
Well, I just like the music. And I don't want to be an old woman in an old people's home, watching television all day long and going to church once a week.
Why do you do it?
I DJ because the energy is fantastic. Because I love to see young people enjoying themselves. Because it makes me happy.
Does your family agree with you?
My family thinks it's great. Some of my friends say that it's not right for a woman my age to be wearing these clothes and staying out all night.
And what do you say to them?
I say it's none of their business. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you want to do something, you can.
So let's look at what she said. Do you think she likes being famous? She doesn't spell it out. She doesn't say it clearly. She says she doesn't think she is famous. She says, don't be silly, I'm not really famous. What do her friends think of her? She said, some of my friends say that it's not right for a woman of my age to be wearing those clothes and staying out all night. People don't like things that are very unusual. So her friends don't think it's good, but her family does. Right, now the statements in exercise 5. I'm just an old lady who's having fun. So for number 1 you should have put who's having fun. Who apostrophe S, short for who is having fun. The second one, I don't want to be an old woman in an old people's home. So in the gap you should have put don't want to be. Don't, D-O-N apostrophe T, short for do not. Number 3, because it makes me happy. You should have written makes in the gap. Number 4, it doesn't matter how old you are. You should have put doesn't matter in the gap. Now we'll listen to an interview with Fraser. Look at exercise 6. What does he like about his work? What does he say about friends and family? We've got another gap fill here, another 4 sentences from the interview. So fill them in like before. You will see that you have the tape script on the left-hand corner of the picture of Fraser. That's tape T2.5. See how you get on.
Tape script 2.5. An interview with Fraser.
Do you like being a businessman?
Oh, yes, I love it. I like the planning, the marketing, the selling. I like meeting people and talking about my business and everything about it.
It seems to me you really love what you're doing.
It's true, I do.
Do you have any free time?
A bit, but not a lot.
What do you do in your free time?
I go out with my friends. I go to clubs. I love walking.
Have you got a girlfriend?
Well, that's none of your business.
Sorry. Who do you live with?
I live with a group of friends in a flat in Edinburgh. It's not far from my parents' house.
Do you see much of your parents?
I see them all the time. We're very close.
So, what does he like about his work? Well, he said he liked everything about it. He liked the planning, the marketing, the selling, meeting people and talking about it. What does he say about friends and family? Well, he says he doesn't have much free time, but he does go out with his friends. He goes to clubs and he loves walking. With his family, he says they're very close and he sees a lot of them, although he doesn't live with them. Very close means they can talk to each other easily and they love spending time together. Now let's look at the gaps. Number 1, it seems to me you really love what you're doing. So the first gap, it should be seems. Remember the S because it comes after it, third person singular. In the second one, you're doing. Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, short for you are, doing. Number 2, do you have any free time? In the gap, do you have? Number 3, do you have a girlfriend? In the first gap, do. In the second gap, have. Number 4, Do you see much of your parents? In the first gap, do. In the second gap, see. S-E-E. Oh, in exercise 7, it asks, what does the expression "it's none of your business" mean? Ruth says it's none of their business when asked what she said to her friends who disapproved of what she was doing, who didn't like what she was doing. Fraser says it when he was asked by the interviewer if he had a girlfriend. They were saying that it did not concern them. They did not need to know about it. Now, it's not very polite to say it's none of your business. We only say it if somebody has asked us a very impolite question, or we really don't like that person. It is more polite to say, I would rather not say. Now we're going to look at the grammar. Look at the grammar spot at the top right-hand corner. The first point says, which two present tenses are used in the texts? Find examples of both. So look at the writing about both Ruth and Fraser and see if you can find examples of present tenses. That's things that are happening now. So we have two types of present tense. I'll explain the differences in a minute. They are present simple and present continuous. Now, you should have underlined in Ruth the following. Now, the first ones I give you are present simple. Is, has, works, tours, lives, think, likes, plays, love, says, and a negative one, don't want. Did you get all those? Now we'll look at the present continuous ones. She says, so that's apostrophe M, short for am doing. Apostrophe S, z, planning, for is planning. Then there is making, and apostrophe M, having, short for am having. So you see all those have got the verb to be plus ing on the end. Then in Fraser, we have for present simple, we have has, earn, says, makes, sell, organises. And in present continuous, we have is growing, apostrophe M writing, short for am writing, and apostrophe RE, short for are trying. Now look at number 2 in the grammar spot. Look at the sentences. Which refers to all time? Which refers to now? Can you work it out? He makes a lot of money. That refers to all time, and it's in the present simple. He has his own company. He has it all the time. It's present simple. She's making another single. She's doing it now. So we use present continuous, the ing form. She's having a good time. She's enjoying herself now. So we use the ing form, the present continuous. I'll explain those two a little bit more for you. Present simple does 3 things. Firstly, it expresses a habit, something you do often or regularly. For example, I get up at 7 o'clock. That means I do it every day. Or Jo smokes too much. She always does it. We also use it for a fact that is always true. Water boils at 100 degrees at sea level. My friend Rosa comes from Spain. Can't change that, that's where she was born. Vegetarians don't eat meat. We come from Japan. And the other thing is for a fact that is true for a long time. It may not be forever. I live in Wales. One day I may move to England. I was born in England, so I don't come from there, but I have lived in Wales for 20 years. She works in a bank. She has done it for a long time. Can you say a sentence with the subject you are studying for your degree? Like this: I study economics or history, whatever you are studying. But at the moment, I am learning English. There are also 3 occasions when we use present continuous. The first one is for an activity we are doing now, something that is happening now. I am teaching you. Am teaching is present continuous. We can also use it for an activity that is happening around now, that we are in the middle of. We've started it but haven't finished. For example, I am reading a book about Pakistan. I'm not doing it right now because I'm teaching you, but I read a chapter every evening. I've started it, but I haven't finished it yet. And the third one, we use going to. I am going to mean something in the future, something we have already planned or decided to do in the future. So, for example, I am going to retire when I'm 65. I've planned it. We'll learn more about that in the future. In both the first unit and this one, we have seen examples of auxiliary verbs like do, and in this unit, be with the continuous form. In present continuous tense, like I am teaching, you saw that it's made up of the verb to be plus the stem of the verb, teach, with ing on the end. Another example is you are studying. For continuous forms, it's always the verb to be, like I am, you are, plus the stem, plus ing. We saw in Unit 1 that when we want to make questions and negative statements, we use do, which is the auxiliary. For questions, we reverse do and the subject. For example, do you like spaghetti? The answer is yes, I do. You don't need to say I do like or do like it. Or no, I don't. Does Tom play football? No, he doesn't play ball games. Notice it is do that changes tense. The main verb stays the same. It's always the root of the verb which stays the same. The auxiliary do changes. And it's the same with the continuous forms, with be. It's be that changes to I am, you are, they are, and he is, and so on. But the verb stays the same with ing on the end. So, are you working? The answer would be yes, I am. A positive statement. Now we'll look at grammar spot 3. You have to find examples of have and have got in the texts. So look at those quickly and try to think, is have or have got more formal? Which one would we use in writing and which one can we use when we are speaking? Did you find them all? There were 3 in each. We look at Ruth first. In the second line, we've got has silver hair. In the 5th line, we've got I've got a son. And in the 9th, they've got so much energy and enthusiasm. Now, Fraser. In the second line, he has his own company. Right in the middle, we've got and he has a charity. And in the 4th line from the bottom, I've got an idea for a TV programme. Did you guess which was most formal, which one we are most likely to use in writing and which one in speaking? You may have noticed that I said got several times. So we normally say have got when we are speaking, but that is informal. You don't need to say it at all. We use just have in formal situations, especially writing. Your homework exercise says that state verbs don't usually take the present continuous, the ing form. Most of them can, but it's less usual. For example, we can say, I think you're right. That means I believe you're right. But we can also say, I'm thinking about the problem. So I'm actively thinking about it now. Another example, we have 3 cars. It's a fact, it's a state, we're not doing anything. But we can say we are having lunch, something we are doing right now. But to keep it simple, we'll concentrate on the state verbs not having a continuous form. So for the purposes of your homework, you will not need a continuous form with the state verbs. It's better to do it that way until you are sure of them. Always try to think, is this an action or a happening? That will help you to remember whether it's a state or an action. So that's all for now. I hope what you have learned will help you to do your exercises. Goodbye.